When the holidays start to feel a bit repetitive, reach for a Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry and put your twist on tradition. A bold cranberry and winter spice flavor fusion, Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry is a refreshing way to shake things up this sipping season. And only for a limited time. Sprite. Obey your thirst.
In Walmart Sue Nouville, time was ticking away. Only a few nights left till the big holiday. But last-minute gifters had no need to worry. Walmart Express Delivery got their gifts in a hurry. From Nintendo to Nespresso and Lego flowers, they could check off their lists in as fast as an hour. All of Who Nouville, East, West, South, and North, could order gifts up until 5 p.m. on December 24th. So this holiday, just do as the Who's do. With gift delivery this fast, they all gasped. From Walmart, who knew? Subject to availability, terms and fees apply.
This is the Tudors Dynasty and Beyond podcast. History with a twist. And now your host, Rebecca Larson.
Hello and welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Rebecca Larson, and today I'm very happy to welcome back again Sharon Bennett Connolly. Welcome back.
Thank you, Rebecca. Nice to be here.
It's been a hot minute since you've been on. I don't even remember the last time.
Neither do I, actually. It's a few months ago. Was it when Scotland's Medieval Queens came out?
That could have been. Yeah, that sounds about right. I just know when it comes to you, I can count on you anytime I want to talk about anything medieval. And so today I was like, what can we talk about? And we're going to talk about the Warennes. And they were, okay, so this is the part. I'm just going to start with this because I'm so intrigued by this. The Warennes were the Earl of Surrey's. And
yes, they were the Earls of Warenne and Surrey. For some reason, they got to use their surname as well as their land title.
Yeah, I noticed that in your book that they went by the Earl of Warenne, right? Which to me was a little bit different because usually, you know, like when we get to the Howards in the Tudor period, they were the Earl of Surrey and the Duke of Norfolk. And so here we are with the Warenne family, the Earls of Surrey. Let's just start from the beginning because I'm intrigued by this. This is a name I'd never heard before. And I want to know what drew you to wanting to write a book on this family. You didn't even focus on one person. You looked at the family. So what was it about them that made you go, I want to write about them?
It was where I grew up.
Oh.
I grew up, I live in South Yorkshire, and I grew up around the corner, literally, from their castle. The Warennes owned Kidnapping Castle in South Yorkshire. So I spent summers playing in the grounds of the castle, climbing to the top of the keep, and once every summer climbing to the top of the keep because my parents, I was one of 3 siblings. So it was like, no, you're not going in the castle. It costs too much money if you do it too often. So, but I grew up visiting the castle, having picnics in the grounds, and it is the most famous site in South Yorkshire. You know, it used to be, it's just 5 minutes off the A1, which is the main artery through Yorkshire. And even coming home from holidays, you saw the castle, you knew you were 5 minutes from home. You know, it's been a part of my life as long as I can remember. And after graduating university, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I'm still not totally sure. But while I was looking for work, I was thinking I was getting bored. So my mum said, why don't you go and ask the castle, see if they've got any jobs going? And they hadn't, but they said I could volunteer. So I volunteered giving guided tours at the castle. And when I was a kid, and most people in Yorkshire will tell you, Kidnapping Castle is famous for Ivanhoe. So Walter Scott was heading up to Scotland when he literally drove by in his carriage, Kidnapping Castle, and he decided it looked perfect as an Anglo-Saxon stronghold for Ivanhoe's dad. The fact it's a Norman keep built by the brother of Henry II is neither here nor there. It's an Anglo-Saxon stronghold as far as Walter Scott was concerned. So that was what it was famous for. But the person who actually built it was Hamlin Plantagenet, half brother of Henry II, who married Isabel de Warenne, the fourth Countess of Warenne and Surrey in her own right. And he built Conisbrough Castle, which is this conical keep. It's a hexagon, which also adheres it to me. Hexagons are my favourite shapes and have been since I was 6 years old. Ever since we drew snowflakes at school. It's like, oh, that's a hexagon. Brilliant. So Conisbrough Castle's a hexagon as well. So, so it was built by Hamlin and Isabel and was the family home and had been in the hands of the Warrens since the Norman Conquest. Yeah. So, but they are not a very well-known family because they died out in 1347. Yeah. So there was 7 earls and the last one died without having any legitimate children. So you don't hear about them as much as you hear about the Daubignys or the Howards or the Bigods or the Marshalls, but they were there. In fact, they were related to every single one of the families I've just mentioned. The Howards are descended from the Warren Earls of Surrey. That's why they've got the title Earl of Surrey. They are the heirs to the Warren earldom through the FitzAlans. Okay. Who inherited it from the Warrens, and then the Howards inherited it from the FitzAlans. So they are connected to absolutely everybody from the Norman Conquest to the reign of Edward III. They're a cousin of Henry III. They're a cousin of King John and Richard the Lionheart, cousin of William the Conqueror. Yeah, you look at the family tree and there's just spiders everywhere relating them to every family. Give me a family name and I'll tell you how they're related to the Warrens. Even Nicola de la Haye, who was the hereditary castellan of Lincoln Castle, who we've talked about before, does actually have a marital relationship with the Warrens. So it's everybody.
It is. You've mentioned the Norman Conquest a couple of times, and I'm absolutely fascinated by William the Conqueror. And now we find out that the Warrens were related. Let's go back. Let's kind of get their origin story under here. That's so cool. I just have to say, first of all, that's so cool that you could actually trace them to coming over with William the Conqueror. There is evidence.
Yes, they share a great-great-grandmother. So William the Conqueror's grandmother was the sister of William de Warren's grandmother. Okay. So, and they knew they were related as well. And William de Warenne is, in fact, one of the few. We know there were tons of nobles at the Battle of Hastings, but we don't have a definitive list of who was there. But we know William de Warenne was one of the nobles at the Battle of Hastings because William the Conqueror said it on his deathbed. Oh. And it was recorded by Audric Vitalis, He's dying and he's going, oh, I've had a great life, and William de Warenne, you remember when we were there at Hastings together, you were with me fighting side by side. So we know he was at Hastings with William the Conqueror, and he was one of his trusted men. He was a justiciar when William returned to Normandy. William de Warenne was one of the ones left in charge and fought for William the Conqueror in the revolt of the earls, when the 3 earls led by, including Walt the Earl of Northumberland, rebelled. William de Warenne led the fight against them. In fact, he defeated them, and he was the one who ordered that the defeated English rebels would have a hand and a foot chopped off so that they couldn't fight again. Wow. He was definitely a medieval lord, and not one you want to get on the wrong side of.
Yeah, I don't know why my head immediately went to, I wonder if they did it on the same side of the body. Both your left hand and your left foot, or were they opposite side? My brain works in mysterious.
I don't know. I suppose that we go, are you left-handed or right-handed?
Yeah, what's the right answer?
If I say left, I'll cut off your right hand because I know you're lying.
Yeah, exactly.
With the foot, I suppose it doesn't matter as much either way. You're going to be hopping, aren't you?
Yes, yeah, that is quite debilitating to lose a foot. I mean, losing a hand is one thing, but losing a foot, what can you do? Especially when we're talking in this time period. I don't think they had artificial limbs.
Well, you'd have a peg leg sort of thing. But losing a foot, I think, is the one that guarantees you're not going to fight again.
Yes.
You know, because you can't stand in a shield wall with only one leg, you know, so it's to make sure they don't fight again.
It's kind of like with the French and the archers, right? Cutting off their 2 fingers.
Yes. Yeah.
That was something I learned about when I was in England, and now I understand. And I'm not gonna do the gesture on camera because it's offensive. But I thought that was an interesting little story. Okay, so they come over with William the Conqueror. Obviously, William becomes the king. Where does this set up? Okay, so that first Warenne that came over, was that William de Warenne?
Yes, William de Warenne. He was the first. He wasn't made an earl until literally almost on his deathbed, a couple of months before he died. William II made him an earl. And then he died, unfortunately, so he didn't have time to enjoy it. But he was given plenty of reward by William the Conqueror when after the invasion. He was given lands in Sussex and Surrey. Lewes Castle was his primary residence, and then during the harrying of the North, he was given Conisbrough Castle in Yorkshire. And then his brother-in-law, his wife's brother, Frederick, was killed by Hereward the Wake, and he had Castleacre in Norfolk. So they've got his wife Gundrada inherited Castleacre. So they got these 3 strongholds in different parts, you know, north, south, and the Midlands, the East Anglia. So it's like he's well spread out. He had something like, I think it was 60 knights' fees. So that's an awful lot of knights that you have to provide to the crown when it goes to war. He was in the top, I think he still is, but I haven't checked recently. When I wrote the book, Defenders of the Norman Crown, he was still in the top 20 richest men in history. He was at number 16 or something like that. In history, not in medieval times, but throughout the whole of history, he was one of the world's richest men.
Yeah, when I read that, it was like I did a double take. I thought, is that even possible? How is that even possible? That is very, very wealthy.
Yeah, I don't know how they work it out, but I'm just like, that is great. You know, that is going in the book. I have got to, and it's one of mine that whenever I talk about them, it's like, this is how powerful and how rich they were. Yeah. You know.
So what was it about William de Warenne that set him apart from his contemporaries after 1066? Was it that he was related? I mean, it sounds like they were all related to William the Conqueror, but what was it about him exactly?
Yeah, he was a really good soldier. He had started even when he fought in the Battle of Mortimer in 1054, when he was about 19 or 20, and he was one of the 2 generals involved in the battle. So he was a career soldier. And he married a lady named Gundrada, who was the daughter of the family that were the hereditary advocates of the monastery of Saint Bertin in Flanders. And she was related, we think, to Matilda of Flanders.
Oh.
Possibly, it's not quite certain how. The best guess at the minute is from Elizabeth van Hoots, who thinks she was related through the House of Luxembourg, which Matilda of Flanders was descended from as well. For 800 years, they thought she was the daughter of William the Conqueror, or the daughter of William the Conqueror and Matilda of Flanders, or the daughter of Matilda of Flanders. Different historians have argued differently. And it was all because William and Gundrada founded St. Pancras Priory in Lewes, in the south of England. St Pancras Priory was the first Cluniac priory to be founded in England. And in a copy of the foundation charter, it stated that Gundrada was the daughter of William the Conqueror. Now, until a Victorian historian actually found the original charter, which says nothing of the sort, everybody thought Gundrada was William the Conqueror's daughter. And it turns out, no, it was just a monk either miscopying something or claiming royal links to get more money and more pilgrims and, people coming to visit because he's got the royal links.
Yeah.
But yeah. And even now, I get every now and then you get somebody on Facebook or the internet or the Warenne Academy in Conisbrough saying that Gundrada was the daughter of William the Conqueror, and I have to go, no, she wasn't.
I love their names. That is such a great name. Like I don't know what it is, that time period. You have like standard names like Matilda, and then you have, what's her name? Gundrada? Yeah. I love that. Those names need to make a comeback, I think. I think people need to start.
Oh, but can you imagine, though, the poor girl who goes to school? What's your name? Gundrada. Oh, right. Okay.
Okay.
Do you want us to call you Gunny? No.
No, please, no.
I think there's a one later on, the Gundrada's granddaughter. She's called Ada. Ada de Warenne, and I wonder if she was christened Gundrada and sort of changed the name to Ada.
Yeah.
Said, no, I just want to be Ada to distinguish myself from my grandmother and my aunt, because there was another Gundrada as well.
That's a good point. That is a good point. See, they would even do nicknames back then. Okay, so we've been talking about William a lot, and I know there's a lot of William Warrens.
There's a lot of Williams.
So let's talk about his children. So we have the first William. He's married. He has children. What does that look like? Are they all boys? Are there any girls? What does that look like?
No, there's boys and girls, and of course the eldest boy is also called William. And
original.
His son is called William.
Oh, gosh.
And and that William has a brother called Reginald, whose son is called William. You can see where this is going.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
I think there were 8 William de Warrens in the book. It's like, please, just think of another name. So when Hamelin comes on and marries the Countess Isabel, it's like, thank you.
Yes. Oh my God. Okay, so William, the first Earl, dies. He is made an Earl right before death. Yeah. So, and this obviously becomes a hereditary title for them. So his son then becomes the second Earl of Surrey. How old? Do you know how old he was when he became the second Earl?
Probably around 20. I think.
Okay.
We don't have any dates for when William and Gundrada actually married, but I think it was around the time of the conquest. And given that the second Earl was Earl for 50 years, I think he was probably around 20 when he became Earl.
That's a long life in medieval times.
It is. And it was a very eventful life as well, because he was Earl when he became Earl under the reign of William Rufus, William II. And of course, when William II died, his oldest brother, Robert, who was Duke of Normandy, was returning from crusade. His youngest brother, Henry, was in the White Forest at in the New Forest at the time that William the Rufus was accidentally struck by an arrow.
I love this story. It's so ruthless.
He instead of going, oh my God, my brother, my poor brother, what am I going to do? I've got to stay with him. He went, oh, my brother's dead. Quick.
Yeah.
Let's get to Winchester, secure the treasury, get to London, get myself crowned king before, well, I mean, he literally leaves his brother's body in the forest, goes and gets himself crowned king, so that when his other brother, his older brother, gets back, who probably thought that he should have been king anyway, he gets back and is like, oh, fait accompli, my brother's king.
Yeah. I love that story.
It's like Henry I is like, well, I should be king of England anyway. I'm the only one of the brothers who was born here. So
that's right.
Technically, he's also the only Yorkshireman to be a king of England.
Wow.
He was born in Selby in Yorkshire. So he's the only Yorkshireman who is a king of England.
Oh, wow. That's really cool.
To be a Yorkshireman, technically, you have to be born in Yorkshire.
So during all of this, the William the Second Earl, where was he while all of this was he on Henry's side, or I assume he was on the king's side, really? I mean, William Rufus to begin with.
He was on William Rufus's side. He wasn't necessarily on Henry I's side at the time, because Henry was more like his love rival. William de Warenne, the second Earl, loved the idea of having a royal bride. And he tried to marry Matilda of Scotland, the daughter of Malcolm Canmore and St. Margaret. And he asked William Rufus permission for this, and William Rufus refused him. And then, of course, Henry I marries her. So William's nose is put out. Henry I offers him one of his illegitimate daughters as a bride. We don't know which one, but he says, oh, you can have one of my illegitimate daughters. But the Archbishop of Canterbury stops this in its tracks because he says, no, you're too closely related because they're cousins. So, no, you can't marry her. So poor William de Warenne is thwarted in all his attempts at love. And he gets married eventually in 1119. And if you read Henry of Huntingdon, it's a rather sordid affair because his bride is the wife of Robert de Beaumont, Earl of Leicester. And apparently, according to Henry of Huntingdon, William de Warenne kidnapped her and they had a torrid affair, so much so that Robert de Beaumont died of grief. And then William de Warenne and Isabel de Vermandois, Beaumont's wife, got married about 3 months after Robert dropped dead.
Oh, my gosh.
So Henry of Huntingdon's a bit of a gossip. And I think he sort of put the dates together. They got married very quickly after Beaumont's death. Yes. So they must have been having an affair. So he makes this affair because that must be why they got married. I mean, I feel for Isabel de Vermandois. She's the granddaughter of the King of France. So she is a royal bride as far as William de Warrenne's concerned. She's got a good pedigree. But she was married to Robert de Beaumont when she was about 10 years old.
Oh, wow.
And he was about, oh, God, I can't remember if he was 40 or 50. But he was a lot older than her. So she had, 11 children with him. The first two were twins as well when she was about 15, Robert and Warenne de Beaumont.
Wow.
So she'd already had a pretty full marriage, shall we say. Certainly she was lucky to have survived so many childbirths, for starters. And then she married William de Warenne in 1119. He was still 10, 20 years older than her, but he was much younger than Robert de Beaumont. So they were closer in age. And they had their first son, William de Warenne, the year after they got married.
Wow.
So, they had... I like William the Second Earl's marital exploits, his search for a bride. It's like he finally found one. Yes. And they were married for 19 years. So hope they were happy.
So did he outlive her?
No, she outlived him.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's good.
He died in 1138, just as the anarchy was starting, and she died about 10 years after that, probably.
Oh, wow. Okay. Geez, we go from the Norman Conquest. Now we're up to the anarchy already.
Yeah,
Like, this is such a
exactly.
tumultuous time in history that these guys are living through. It's amazing that they're
Oh,
surviving
yeah.
already. Like,
I mean, you also have to, the other story, William de Warren's got the second Earl's got two great stories. One is his marriage, search for a bride, and the other is his relationship with Henry I, because like we say, he had a falling out with Henry I about who he was going to marry.
yeah.
And so he sided with Duke Robert of Normandy when he came back from the Crusade, Robert Curthose. And he was on when Robert invaded England in 1102 to try and take the crown. William de Warenne was on Robert's side. There wasn't actually a battle. The two armies faced each other, and Robert and Henry came to an agreement where he would pay Robert £2,000-3,000 to go away and go and live in Normandy and not invade England again. And Robert took the pension because it was an annual £2,000 a year. Here you go away, go back to Normandy. So, but everybody who in England who'd supported Robert was disinherited and sent packing.
Uh-oh.
And they all had lands in England and Normandy, so they could go back to their Norman lands, but their English lands were forfeit. So Robert went back to Normandy, and William de Warenne followed him and went to him and complained, "Look, I've supported you, and this is it's cost me all my lands in England." And when you think that his dad was the richest man, one of the richest men in history, that's a lot of lands that he's had to forfeit, and he wasn't very happy. And so Robert actually decided he'd support William, and he returned to England uninvited to speak to Henry. And so, it's not fair. All they did was support me. You really shouldn't have taken William de Warenne's lands off him just because he supported me. And Henry was furious that Robert had come back to England uninvited after he'd just paid him off to go away. So he goes to Robert, he said, "That's fine. Okay, I will reinstate William de Warenne, but you've lost your pension. Now go away and don't come back to England. We're uninvited ever again."
Ouch.
So it cost Robert his pension, but William de Warenne got his lands back.
The McDonald's snack wrap is back. You brought it back. Ranch snack wrap. Spicy snack wrap. You broke the internet. For a snack. Snack wrap is back. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
The Subaru Share the Love event is on from November 20th to January 2nd. For 18 years, Subaru and its retailers have supported over 2,700 local charities through the Share the Love event. When you purchase or lease a new vehicle during the 2025 Subaru Share the Love event, Subaru and its retailers will make a minimum $300 donation to charity. Visit Subaru.com/share to learn more.
Oh my God. Well, that was quite a risk for Robert to take. And then he lost all that money because he took this risk for his cousin.
Yeah. And then he lost, and William de Warenne, from that point on, was a staunch supporter of Henry I. After Robert had gone batting for him, it was like, oh no, okay, I'm on Henry's side now.
Yeah. Well, what do? If Henry gives you everything back, then you go, okay, well, I guess I have to support this guy now because he gave me back everything that he took from me. Wow, this story, it's like a soap opera. Like there's just so many ups and downs to it, isn't there?
It is, but I mean, they were basically covering all angles because William's brother Reginald looked after the Warenne lands in Normandy. So he sided with Robert, fought with Robert, while William de Warenne fought with Henry I. So, it's like whichever side won, the other brother could, would be okay. And it actually happened. Reginald was besieged in Normandy and lost, and William had a word with Henry to get his brother released.
Oh, wow.
So,
It seems so complicated because they have all these people in Normandy and all these people in England, and it's never good when you have people on either side of the channel because there's going to be plotting, there's going to be fighting, there's going to be all this stuff, isn't there?
Well, it's funny actually when Henry II, is it Henry II? Yeah, when Henry II came to the throne, the reason that he came to the throne peacefully after the anarchy and the troubles with King Stephen was he was already Duke of Normandy. And the English barons had just had 19 years of trying to negotiate the fact that Normandy was in the hand of the Angevins and England was in the hands of King Stephen. And they had lands across both lands, but two different rulers. And it was so confusing and so annoying having to swear fealty to both for your land, because you're swearing. In those days, land was about providing martial assistance to your feudal overlord. So in England, you're swearing fealty to King Stephen. You're going to fight for King Stephen.
Yeah.
But in Normandy, you're swearing to first Geoffrey of Anjou and then Henry, who's the future Henry II. And when Stephen and Henry are fighting, you're like, I've promised to fight for both. What do I do?
Yeah. How do you solve a problem like that? Because that clearly is a problem.
Well, most of the families solved it by literally like what the Warrens did. The oldest brother agreeing to fight based on where most of their lands were, and the second brother being given the lands in the other state. And him fighting for that ruler. So, which is why you get brother against brother.
Yeah.
But they're hedging their bets. They've got somebody on both sides. So
it seems so complicated, like messy, maybe messy.
We talk about divided loyalties, but that, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we reached the anarchy. We had William II, Earl Warenne, or Earl of Surrey, whatever we want to call him. I guess they went by Earl Warenne, right?
Yeah, usually they referred to themselves as Earl Warenne more, unless they were formally writing it out, Earl of Warenne and Surrey. But mainly it was just they were known as Earl Warenne.
Okay, all right. So you had mentioned that the second Earl lived a nice long life till he was like 70, but that he also had a son named William. So when the second William died at old age, his son William now takes up the
But his son William is only 19. He was born in 1119, so he's only 19 when he actually gets the earldom. And he's got a young wife, Ella, and he only has one child, a daughter named Isabel. And he's fighting. But it's funny because, like I say, his mum had been married before to Robert de Beaumont. And so although he was the oldest son, William de Warenne had older brothers and sisters. And where you hear about, we tend to think of families in medieval times as the Plantagenets, brother against brother, everybody having an argument all the time, nobody getting on. With the Warrens, you have the exact opposite. William's oldest brothers, half-brothers, are Robert and Warenne de Beaumont, the twins. Robert is Earl of Leicester. Warenne is Count of Milan. So Robert's got the English lands and Warene's got the Norman lands of their father. Warene's the oldest, and he becomes the patriarch of this blended Beaumont-Warenne family. So he's about 19 years older than William de Warenne. So he takes his younger brother under his wing. And they actually go off on crusade together in 1147. They've got sick of the fighting in the anarchy, so they go off on crusade to fight somewhere else.
I love that.
I suppose it's to find a more noble cause than a dynastic struggle. But yeah, all through the anarchy, it's Warenne who is the patriarch of both the Beaumont household and the Warenne household. So when their sister Ada de Warenne is married to the son of King David of Scotland, it's Warenne who arranges that marriage and approves that marriage rather than William de Warenne. So it's Warenne de Beaumont who is the leading person in arranging his sister's marriage. Well, him and Matilda of Boulogne, Stephen's wife. It's part of the peace treaty after the Battle of the Standard, when the Scots are defeated by the English.
Wow, they are a well-connected family, aren't they?
The current king is directly descended from Ada de Warenne and Prince Henry of Scotland. From that marriage, you can trace it straight down.
That is amazing. Okay, so he went on crusade. Is he the one who died on his way back from crusade?
No, he died on crusade. He died at the Battle of... I've totally forgotten the name of the battle.
There was a lot of battles.
Yes, it's the Second Crusade, and he was in the vanguard of Louis VII's army, and they were cut off and defeated and basically wiped out. But his brother he went with his brother Warenne. They both went on crusade together. Warenne came back, but William was killed in the battle in January 1148. See, I can remember the date. For some reason, I cannot remember the name of the battle.
How dare you not remember everything, Sharon? I find this
It's on the tip of my tongue, honest.
We're going to be in the middle of talking about something else, and you're going to blurt it out because you'll suddenly remember it.
Yeah.
I think it's so fascinating because after he dies, the title goes to a woman. And
yes.
Is that unusual for the time? Because I feel like when we look at the Tudors, that's quite unusual. Like it very seldom would happen.
It didn't happen an awful lot. And of course, most of the time, girls were treated as chattels, basically. It was, she was the greatest heiress in the kingdom, basically.
And this is Isabel, his daughter.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she was, before he left on crusade, William arranged Isabel's marriage to King Stephen's younger son, William of Blois. Smart. And the idea was that Stephen would look after Isabel's lands will be protected because she's married to the son of the king. Yeah. She was only about 8 or 10 years old at the time. And so was William of Blois. They were only children, but the marriage was arranged so that the lands were safe. And poor William was disinherited when Stephen agreed to pass the crown to Henry II. Most historians go, William wasn't bothered. It's like, yeah, right.
How would you not be?
Well, there's just this little thing about the fact that when the agreement was made, Henry, as Duke of Normandy, had made this agreement with Stephen and was riding back to Dover to go home when he was ambushed by mercenaries bought by William of Blois. And William, unfortunately, fell off his horse during the ambush and broke his leg. And that's the only reason that Henry managed to get away. So it's like, yeah, William was a tad miffed that his dad had given away his inheritance.
As anyone, I think, would be in that situation.
Exactly. But it's like, oh, no, he wasn't bothered. It's like, oh, yes, he was. But in the end, he was compensated with lands with all the Warenne lands, and he kept the county of Boulogne and the lands of the county of Mortain that was Stephen's inheritance. So he was a really rich landowner as a result of it. So, but Henry got the crown. And then as soon as Henry got the crown, it was like, right, I've got to rein William in a bit because he's got way too many lands.
Yeah,
It's too powerful. So then there was this battle of wills between Henry and William, and William basically lost because he died. He went on campaign with Henry to Toulouse, and he died of camp sickness on his way home. Oh. And part of that, I think, is also William was married to Isabel de Warenne, and they didn't have any children. And I think that once he got the crown, Henry made sure that William was in attendance on him as much as possible, making sure that William and Isabel couldn't get enough time together on their own to have a family. Because if William and Isabel had a family, that would have been a rival claimant, a rival line to the throne, which would have caused no end of problems for Henry, especially when you look at Richard the Lionheart and King John and all there were enough problems about the throne then anyway. If there'd been an alternate line that people could have gone, actually, you're winding us up, we'll go with the Blois line for a little while and see how that goes.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so then what happens to the earldom after Isabel dies?
Well, Hamlin dies in 1202 and Isabel dies the following year. And they have a son, William. So William of Blois dies, and Isabel then... There's Henry's II's youngest brother, William of Anjou, wants to marry Isabel. But Thomas Becket refuses it, denies the marriage, says, no, you can't get married because you're too closely related to Isabel's first husband.
What?
Not to Isabel, not because William and Isabel were closely related, but because William and Isabel's first husband were first cousins. So it's like, no, you're too closely related. You're not allowed to get married. So, and apparently William of Anjou died about 6 months later, supposedly of a broken heart. Whether or not it's a broken heart because he was so desperately in love with Isabel or so desperately in love with Isabel's money. I don't know.
I was going to say, he was probably poisoned. When these people say they died of a broken heart, I immediately assume they were poisoned.
Well, as a result, one of the knights who killed Thomas Becket was one of William of Anjou's knights who claimed he was doing it because Becket had disappointed William in marriage, so refused William's marriage. So Henry II, still not wanting to lose the Warenne lands, hatches this plan that, yes, William of Anjou couldn't marry Isabel because he was related to William of Blois. But Henry's illegitimate half-brother, who was the son of Geoffrey of Anjou, but not of Empress Matilda, was no relation to either Isabel or Isabel's first husband. So he could marry her. And he was, I like Hamlin. He was a thoroughly modern man. Because he'd never, because he was illegitimate, he didn't technically have a surname. They call him Hamlin Plantagenet now, but they didn't use Plantagenet then. So when he married Isabel, he took her name. So, yeah, it would have been a much shorter book when you think about it, because Isabel, a book about the Warenne earls, you go down from 7 earls. If Isabel had taken Hamlin's name, it would have been 3 earls and 1 countess, and that's end of book.
Yeah.
But no, Hamlin takes the Warenne name, so the Warenne line carries on. And and it's Hamlin who builds Knaresborough Castle, which is a thoroughly modern castle. It's the first castle in England that has a proper hooded fireplace in the keep. So you look at that fireplace and it's just like a fireplace in a country house. It's gorgeous. They're beautifully done. They're really big and magnificent and, demonstrative of power. And he built the keep is there's a gorgeous chapel in there as well, which is beautifully decorated in carved stone. You really do have to come and visit.
Yes, yes, I do.
It is stunning. The chapel in Konigsborough Castle Keep is probably my favourite place on earth. You just walk in there and it's like you're in there thinking of all the people who've been in there in the 800 years. You know, King John worshipped in there, Edward II, Hamlin and Isabel, Henry II. It's like
those churches.
Yeah.
I
but
love
this
it.
is just a tiny chapel. It's a private family chapel with, there's only room for about 6 or 8 people in there and the priest. And happened then? Sorry, it's just
it's this new thing with Zoom. I don't think anybody else is
apparently I put my
it.
hand up, which is funny because yes, my hand was up, but I must have just knocked something. Sorry, listeners.
No, I don't think anybody sees it but me and you. So
it's confusing because we switch sides as well. It's like weird.
I'm just fascinated by the story of this family, and I feel like we're running out of time, and we're like so far from the end. No,
we're only halfway through.
I love how he took her name. I think that is so cool.
Yeah,
for someone in this time period to do that. Like, I feel like that is so unheard of. I can't think of another example.
I don't know of another one. No, I don't know of another one.
That's pretty crazy. Okay, so anyway, as I said, we're running low on time. So I want to make sure that you can get in any stories for the rest of this family line that we need to get into.
Right, let's see if I can do the last earls in a quick, smart time.
There we go.
So then we've had Hamlin and Isabel. Then we have William the Fifth Earl, who he is involved. He sides with King John at first during the Magna Carta crisis. He is one of the barons who negotiates Magna Carta for King John. He's at Northampton when the rebels present their first iteration of Magna Carta, and he's there at Runnymede when it's actually sealed. And he's still on King John's side until about 1216 when the French invade. The rebels invite Louis of France to come over and claim the throne because they really don't want John to be king anymore. Mm-hmm. And it looks like Louis is going to win. So William de Warenne and John's half-brother William Longspay change sides.
Oh.
And, swear to the French. And then when John dies, he decides to come back into the fold. And he negotiates with William Marshal to come back to the side of the King Henry III. The argument you see a lot is that William betrayed John because he was miffed that John had an illegitimate son with William's sister. We don't know which sister. He had 3 sisters, and we don't know which one had an affair with John, but she had a son named Richard of Chilham. The thing is, that happened probably about 15, 20 years before the Magna Carta crisis. So if he was a bit miffed with John, he'd had time to cool off. So I think it was more likely that he thought Louis was going to win, and he thought he'd better change sides to preserve the family's land. As it turned out, John died conveniently, and Henry III came to the throne, and it looked like with William Marshal in charge of the war for Henry III, things changed back to the royalist side because it was like, oh, actually, Louis is going to lose this now, so everybody switched sides.
Right.
And William de Warenne, his wife died in about 1214, 1215. And he didn't have an heir yet. So in 1225 or 1226, I can't remember off the top of my head, he married William Marshal's oldest daughter, Matilda Marshal, who had been married to the Earl of Norfolk, but he died in 1225. Oh. And so she married William de Warenne, and they had a son and a daughter. Isabel d'Aubigne was their daughter, who is, oh God, she is a story in herself. She's the one who told off Henry III. I think we've talked about it when we talked about Magna Carta. Henry III stole some of her lands, and she went to him and said, "Where are the liberties of England?" Because he, sat in Magna Carta because he nicked her lands. And Henry III actually wrote once to his wife, "She can have her lands back so long as she doesn't tell me off again." So
Love
I have to get that story in. She is one of my heroes, Isabel d'Aubigne. And then his son was John de Warenne, the 6th Earl, who was Guardian of Scotland at the time of William Wallace. And he lost the Battle of Stirling Bridge. He was in his 60s at the time, to be fair to the poor bloke. He'd been left in charge while Edward I was on the continent. So he'd been left in charge of fighting in Scotland. And his army was ready to, the morning of Stirling Bridge, he overslept, but the army was ready and started marching. Then he woke up and he's there, "Hold on a minute, bring them back, I'm not ready yet." So the army was ordered to halt and wait for John de Warenne to be ready. Wow. By which time the Scots were prepared, and they let half the army march across the bridge, which only allowed 2 abreast at the time. Then they cut them off, destroyed that half of the army, and then went after the rest of the army. And John de Warenne got on his horse and rode hell for leather for Berwick, and didn't stop until he got to Berwick, at which point his horse dropped dead under him. So tad ignominious, but then again, he was back at the Battle of Falkirk, and he was with Edward I at that one, and he won. So, but yeah, he was one of those. John de Warenne was another long-lived one. He was in his 80s when he died.
Wow.
70s when he died, and he had fought with at the Battle of Lewes with Edward I, and unfortunately not very well with that one. He was a young man at the time, and his wing of the army got turned by Simon de Montfort, and rather than be captured and held for ransom, him and his cousins fled the field, and must have been a bit of a pattern for John, actually, because didn't stop until they got to France.
Oh, there we go.
But he did come back and rejoined Edward before the Battle of Evesham, when Simon de Montfort was defeated. Now, we don't have record of John being at the Battle of Evesham, but I'm pretty sure he was, because there's nowhere else he would be, I don't think, other than at Evesham, when the armies met and Simon de Montfort was defeated, and Edward, who was still only the Lord Edward, son of Henry III, was king at the time, actually reclaimed the kingdom for the king rather than those nasty de Montfort rebels.
So their line lasted until the reign of Henry III, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's a good run,
Edward
but...
III. Yeah, Edward III.
Oh, Edward, sorry.
So we had, John was the 6th Earl. His son, another William de Warenne, actually died while John was still Earl. And when William died, his son was 6 months old. He was also called John. We don't go for too many different names in the Warenne family.
No.
So John was only 6 months old when his dad died, but he was raised first by his maternal grandmother and then by his paternal grandfather, John Earl Warenne. And he was married to Edward I's granddaughter, Joan of Bar. Joan was 10, John was 20, and John had a girlfriend.
Oh.
So it didn't go very well. The marriage was a total disaster. John spent most of his life trying to divorce Joan. Poor Joan was, she was raised at Conisbrough Castle and Sandal Castle in Yorkshire, the two Warren Yorkshire strongholds. And it was a very unhappy marriage. Edward II sent a yeoman to rescue her, to bring her from Conisbrough Castle back to London to be lodged in the Tower of London. But he didn't have any official orders, this yeoman, apparently. And the people of Knaresborough defended Joan, wouldn't let him take her because they thought he was kidnapping her. And actually, stood outside the castle and said, "You're not having our countess," until Edward II actually sent written orders saying, "Release Joan. She's coming to London. I'm going to look after her."
Yeah. Wow.
So, yeah, but John tried everything. What was it? He claimed that they were too closely related by blood. That was denied by the church courts because apparently only the woman in those days could claim consanguinity because she was a child at the time. John was old enough at the age of 20 to say that he couldn't marry her. So his girlfriend claimed that she and John were already married, and that was denied as well. And eventually, John got so desperate, he claimed that he'd had a relationship with Joan's aunt, Mary of Woodstock, Edward I's daughter. Mary of Woodstock had been a nun since the age of 7. She was a very worldly nun. She was famous for gambling and spending more time at court than in a convent, but she was still a nun and she was dead, so she couldn't deny it.
Right.
Yeah, John basically never managed to get a divorce, which meant that although he had children, they were all illegitimate because none of them were with his wife. So the line died out in 1347.
Wow. Oh my gosh. What a fascinating family. Okay, if there's one thing that you want to leave with the listeners about the Warrens, what is that last thought that you want to leave with everybody?
That they're not a typical medieval brother against brother family. They were always so totally supportive of each other and their family, in instances all the way through. You see them siding with their cousins, their brothers, looking after each other.
Yeah, I love that. Sharon, thank you so much. Before we go, though, I want to give you the opportunity to pitch your books and your podcast as well.
Thank you. Well, my podcast is A Slice of Medieval with myself and Derek Burks, and we discuss loads of medieval things. Our last episode is just out, which is our Christmas special, looking at some old episodes. And we have a brilliant episode coming out on New Year's Eve with Ian Mortimer.
Ooh.
Talking about Mortimer's A to Z's of English history, and that is fabulous. Ian Mortimer is an absolutely wonderful historian and somebody you can just chat with all day.
Yes.
He's brilliant. He's very witty. And my books, well, the one we've just been talking about is from Defenders of the Norman Crown, Rise and Fall of the Warenne Earls of Surrey. My next one out in March is Princesses of the Early Middle Ages, the Royal Daughters of the Norman Conquest. And that's followed about 4 months later by Princesses of the Later Middle Ages, Royal Daughters of the Plantagenets.
I can't wait for these books. I am so excited. And if anybody wants to get their hands on your books, because that's not all that you've written a lot of books.
I've written, the one coming out in March is number 9.
Yeah, so she's written just a couple, just a couple books.
I can't stop. Once I've started, I can't stop.
I love it. I wish I had your dedication to it. I feel like I get distracted by so many other things than just to sit down and write, but you're doing it right.
I'm trying. I still get distracted easily. At the minute, I am finding anything to do other than actually editing and indexing Princesses of the Early Middle Ages, because indexing is, oh God, it just fries your brain.
I can imagine.
So, the house is clean.
Everything that needed to be cleaned is clean. You're running out of excuses, Sharon.
Yeah, blog posts are written, book reviews are written. I've done A to D. I've got to do E on the index, and it's like there's Edith of Wessex, Edith Swanneck, Ealhgith, Edgifu, Edmund. How many Edwards?
Yes.
I'm just thinking I don't want to do the E's.
Just don't index it. Nobody needs an index.
Yeah, have you read a non-fiction book without an index?
No.
It's great. You can read it once, but you can't actually use it for research.
This is true. You're right. I do get annoyed if a book doesn't have an index and I go, how am I supposed to find anything?
Well, that's what I keep telling myself when I'm doing the index. I'm like, I don't want to do it. Yes, but just imagine if you picked up a book without an index. Because I have actually refused to review books before now that haven't had an index. Because I can't recommend a book that does a non-fiction book that doesn't have an index.
Yeah. Oh
it is essential, and that's what keeps me going.
I love it. Sharon,
That
thank
and
you.
wine.
And wine. Sharon, thank you so much for coming on and joining me today and telling me about this fascinating family.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for asking me to. I'm sorry if I've waffled on a bit. It's just, as you can see, the Warrens are, it was the most personal book I've ever written because it was based on a family a castle that I'd grown up knowing. So, I had a friend of mine who I was at school with, but she lives in California now. And she got the book when she was over visiting her mum and took it home. And so then she messaged me and said, Sharon, I've just finished it. It just so reminded me of home. She said, I just remember because every kid in South Yorkshire visits Knaresborough Castle with a school trip. So she was like, it just reminded her of her childhood. And it's like, that's what I wanted. I wanted people to feel how personal the family are to me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's wonderful. Well, I can't wait to have you back again to talk about some princesses in the future.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that.
All right. Until next time.
Thank you very much, Rebecca.
Thanks for listening to Tudors, Dynasty, and Beyond. If you enjoyed the episode, please take a moment to follow or subscribe wherever you're listening so you never miss a new release. And if you loved it, leave a quick review. It helps more history lovers find the show. Want to support the podcast and get bonus content? Head to patreon.com/tutorsdynasty. You can also find the link in the show notes of this episode. Join the conversation with Rebecca on social media at Tudors Dynasty. Until next time.
This episode is brought to you by Marqeta. When it comes to your payments provider, you can't afford to compromise. Marqeta's modern payment solutions flex with your business without the trade-offs. Stable and agile, secure and innovative, scalable and configurable. If they say you can't have it all, don't believe them. Your business demands more. Choose a payments provider that delivers more. Choose Marqeta. Visit marqeta.com/Spotify to learn more.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here. Wishing you a very happy half-off holiday because right now Mint Mobile is offering you the gift of 50% off unlimited. To be clear, that's half price, not half the service. And Mint is still premium unlimited wireless for a great price. So that means a half day, yeah? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.